Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of CPOV Autographs. I, of course, am Matt, aka Stormageddon. And before we get into this week's episode, I do want to remind y'all that you can find all of the stuff that I do at djstormageddon.com. It's one convenient place to find my merch, my Twitch page, my podcasts, my Ko-fi, literally everything that has to do with me. So if you want to go check that out again, it's djstormageddon.com. I also want to quickly shout out my TV and movie podcast, Screen Snark, that I host with previous guest of this show, Rachel Quirky Shank, where we have a guest every episode and we talk about the most recent thing we watched, each host and then the guest, and then we do a brief interview with the guest as well. It's been a delight. We've had some really awesome and incredible guests on the show, and I would love for y'all to check it out. Anyway, enough about me. Let's talk about my guest, who is the incredible, the infamous, the brilliant, and handsome Viktor Devonne. This is Viktor's third appearance on the podcast. We're very good friends, and I miss him dearly as he is now living on the West Coast, and it is still a pandemic. But we have a great chat about what he's been working on, what burlesque life has been since the pandemic started, and how his podcasts have evolved and changed, including him starting his own podcast network. So without further ado, here is my wonderful dear friend, the brilliant and lovely Viktor Devonne. I'm sure I don't have to explain how this works.
Now, you're in the computer?
Technically, sure. Yeah, why not? I'm in the computer. Cool. I'm really excited to have you back on the show, Viktor, for those tuning in. And I am chatting again, of course, with the incredible, the infamous, the brilliant, the stunning Viktor Devonne.
Welcome. Am I infamous? Have I managed to get infamous?
I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on who you ask, really, right?
I guess. So, well, dodged. My pleasure, Storm. How are you?
I'm all right. You know, the caveat, the asterisk of the best I can be during a pandemic, you know, that whole thing. Although by the time this is live, I'll have already gotten my second vaccine shot, which is very exciting.
Very good.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been weird recording these podcasts in the pandemic. Some of the conversations just skew pretty professional and don't talk about the pandemic at all. And then others, like the one I did recently with Raina Sinclair, it's like that's half the conversation was like, what the hell are you doing during this time? And I feel like you, like listeners who know, as you've been on the show a few times before, like you are a podcaster now as well. You've been doing it for a while, but your primary artistic expression is through burlesque, which has been turned upside down over the last year.
Yeah, since our last recording, really, I've moved to California. I now am in Riverside. When was I last on here? I know.
I feel like it was like I want to say it was the fall before.
Maybe 2019.
Yeah, probably. That sounds about right.
Yeah, so I'm now in California. My husband got a job, and for the last, I used to say 3 years, now it's 4 years. But for 3 years, I was going back and forth and running White Elephant Burlesque at Rock Bar, doing my gigs at other locations, writing, producing my anthology series, 2 Night Stay, and podcasting, because We Burlesque the podcast became sort of, I would love to say phenomenon. I don't know if it's big enough to be a phenomenon, but it certainly became a vessel and a way to communicate with folk that we couldn't have anticipated a pandemic to be, you know, the only way that we would eventually be able to speak about what we do, because we weren't able to do it in person for a while. So last year I was in the middle of a break. I had just finished one season. I do 30 episodes a season, more or less uninterrupted, 30 weeks. And I was supposed to take longer off because I was supposed to go back to New York and travel and come back here and, you know, settle. The cat was already here. My husband was already here. My laptop was already here. I was already beginning that process. And then the pandemic happened and I had to come back 5 days after I headed back for East. Did not bring the car, did not travel, across the country in my car. And a lot of my stuff is still in New Jersey. By August, I'm hoping I will get most of it back. And I said, you know what? I'm starting the podcast again. So I started season 4 at the time, and then did it all the way through Christmas. And now I'm starting season 5.
Yeah, and by the way, you are correct. Your memory is much better than mine. May 7th, 2019 is the last episode when that aired. Your second romp onto the podcast. Yeah, I think it was actually just after Two Night Stay had started to become a regular thing, I think, or was just about to be even.
I know, just in time for it to then go on accidental hiatus. Yeah, I tell you right now, I mean, no one who's listening to this is shocked or surprised, but my inspiration went somewhat dry during a pandemic, and while I was able to put out a couple of things, it is way not as frequent as I would love it to be, because if it was more frequent, then I would also get that fulfillment of that creativity.
Sure.
But now I get to just sort of stress out and be like, it's not happening.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm very blessed that none of my podcasts have really gone on hiatus during the pandemic. In fact, I took on more projects during the pandemic, which, like, between streaming regularly on Twitch and becoming a producer for Shut Up Evan, it's like, oh, I was doing all this stuff. I guess I'll do more stuff in the pandemic, which is great. But, like, yeah. I can totally understand. Like, there are definitely days where I'm, like, recording or banking episodes and I'm going, I don't really want to record today.
Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons, actually. I am banked for podcast episodes for season 5 through middle of June. So the only thing I have to do is add the bumpers to them. And the reason I do that is in case my Patreon number people change, or if I have an announcement I want to make. So the file is all there, and I don't edit it a whole lot. I used to edit a lot. I used to and and remove a lot of that. But unless there's a really significant fuck up or somewhat really egregious, I'm just like, why? Yeah. So I've been doing that, and I've actually expanded a little bit. I now am having other programming that I am working on, basically rebranding the podcast as a network for burlesquers, essentially. And if it turns out that my legacy is that I'm the Merv Griffin of burlesque, that's a reference for you young kids. Yeah, no. If I have to, if I happen to have to be the Ryan Seacrest of burlesque, I guess. I know. Well, but really, who else is up there? I mean, the only alternative is Andy Cohen, and I'm just not doing that.
No, that's fine. I get it.
But if I have to be the person who sort of helps amplify and puts other burlesquers on these just sort of give them platforms, then I'm cool with that. I mean, that's sort of always been my thing. I love the show. I love producing. I love performing, but I also love supporting. I love being the guy who loves the folks in the industry. And one of the biggest challenges that we see, I probably talked about this previously, but it bears repeating even 3 years later, that there are a lot of industries that get other amplifications. They get reality shows, they get talk show guest spots, they get blogs written about them. And burlesque, it's not one of those industries that does that. There are none of us who are really famous, and even the ones who are notable are underground to a degree, or they're famous for beyond their burlesque.
Sure.
The most obvious being Devonne,
right?
So who's not? I mean, he did nothing in 2020 when a lot of folks were scrambling to do digital shows. Not that was a prerequisite. It's not a medium for everybody. There's going to be a lot of heightened feelings about folks who, I mean, some of our best friends in the industry did not work last year because of whatever reason, not the least of which could be circumstance, so or inspiration or motivation. But one of the reasons that I wanted to even start digitally producing, which I feel I'm a little late on, but or more often, is because I wanted to really show that not only can we persevere even in this fucked up time, there's some folks who are doing really good.
Yeah.
And I love that, and I love watching it with people. And that was the biggest thing. Performing, yes, hate it, hate not performing. Going to shows, it's a mess for me. But there is something that's so crackly and great about sitting or standing in a room full of folks, watching a show that you curated, knowing what's going to happen, and seeing what everybody else's response is. That's the best. So I can kind of do that with a chat room and a Zoom stream.
Sure.
And that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for me as an audience member. I mean, it's funny. I went on a sort of hiatus from burlesque right before the pandemic, and unannounced. But like, I made the decision, and I've talked about it on this show before and online a little bit, that I wanted to focus on all the podcasts I was doing. I wanted to expand the work on podcasting that I was doing because I'd been doing it for so long and there had been not a ton of momentum. And so in January of last year, I stopped using Facebook because I was tired of that particular app, and I stepped down as a producer for Magical Girl around the same time. And was like, all right, I got a bunch of convention passes. I'm pressed for a bunch of stuff. I'm going to focus on the podcast thing. And then the pandemic happened. And thankfully, the podcasting itself wasn't really affected. In fact, I would argue it was made easier by the pandemic.
Perhaps a little bit more accessible.
Right, because I had been recording remotely with my co-hosts for ages, but like a lot of the guests had been in person for this show. And then even that, it was like, well, remote would be easier with some folks. And like, so now more people know how to use Zoom, more people know how to use Audacity. And like, that's been really beneficial. But I do miss a lot of the in-person stuff. I think I don't miss DJing live burlesque shows specifically. I miss interacting at a live event. I miss seeing my friends. Like dear friend of every show, Rob Starobin, I can't remember the last time I've spoken to him. And we used to talk all the time because we were in person. We didn't really talk online that much. And like, it's just, it's one of those things where it's different. And I've watched plenty of Zoom shows. I was there for the Silver Tusks, the digital Silver Tusks this year. And like, it's still fun, but for me, it's not the same because I want to hug my friends. I want to see them. And I'm sure that's the case for a lot of folks. But like, there's just something about, I think I'm beyond enjoying burlesque because I like the art of burlesque. I do like it, but I think a lot of the enjoyment from burlesque beyond that for me was the interaction with the people, with the hosts, with the crowds, and it's just that part is just not the same on Zoom.
Well, some of that is you're spoiled for choice because you've seen such great burlesque in your time, so it has to really grab you in general. And I don't like to consider myself an elitist, but I certainly have burlesque that I enjoy more than others, and I certainly appreciate production and talent, like, because not everyone. Geez Louise actually said it pretty plainly. I think last year on a Facebook post, which was the stage isn't for everybody. That's why there are seats in front of it, and that's such a oh shit a kind of moment, like right. And I think a lot of times we're drawn to things that either fascinate or interest us, and burlesque is somewhat more accessible. It is something that says maybe I could do that, sure. And take a class, work with folk, go to shows, hone your craft, but don't expect it to be easy, and don't expect it to be instantly gratifying in a whole lot of ways, and don't expect that you're going to be good at it. I mean, but to that end, there are actors who are not very good who always get work. There are writers who are not very good who always sell copies. So in the grand scheme of things, yes, will you probably get some work if you maneuver in the right ways? Yeah, but it's going to be limited. It's going to be difficult, and eventually I think you're going to burn yourself out because and then when you add the pandemic aspect, there was some commentary going around that suggests that this might actually increase numbers of burlesquers post-pandemic, whenever that is. I don't know if I agree with that. In fact, I think it has added an extra layer of
Right.
inaccessibility because of the wait, are we doing music videos? Wait, what? How about this? And the problem with doing music videos is
Yeah.
it's all copywritten music. And that means it's a vessel that's difficult. You can't stream a burlesque show technically on Twitch.
Right.
I've seen it done. I've been broadcast, not on my show. We Burlesque doesn't broadcast there, but I've seen my ass on Twitch and said, "Oh, Twitch isn't going to be happy about that." So I mean, I've seen although I am glad that particularly the drag king community has found a place on Twitch. That I have noticed, and I think that's very cool. So it's gonna be interesting. I don't know. I think there are going to be a number of folks who, at the end of this, won't go back to stages. I think this inadvertently created some retirement for some folk. And we've already lost so many venues.
Yeah. I mean, and also, like, it's funny you mentioned Twitch. Like, Twitch is such a complicated animal because their community standards are not great. They've done some effed up shit, or at least not responded to some effed up shit over the course of this year and beyond. But I pay more close attention this year. But, like, yeah, I mean, I'm a featured streamer for Fuser, the game, which is a music game a la Rock Band and those that came before it. That's the point of the game, is to play music. Yet Twitch, with its community standards, if you play a full song without it being mixed with other parts, it might get silenced for copyright.
I see. Broadcast?
Not on
or
the VOD. The broadcast will always have everything.
Okay.
The VOD, parts of it might get silenced because if it hits the copyright trigger.
Right, and since you're a partner, you do VOD.
Right.
Right.
But beyond that, it's like you created a game that it features music, but we can't stream it. We can't save the VOD because it might get taken down, DMCA'd, whatever. And, like, that's not Fuser's fault. That's Twitch's fault.
But Fuser has the whole removing the components.
Right.
part,
And
doesn't
so
it?
most of the time, as long as you're using removed components or mixes, it won't get copyright strike because it's technically a different piece of music. But, like, sometimes I like to start one of my sessions with a complete song and then pull out the vocals. And so often those moments will get silenced. It's just, and to what you were talking about, you know, Twitch not liking nudity, that's also a double-edged sword because there's plenty of attractive men and women who stream in tight clothes or less clothes. And, like, that's just, and there's nothing wrong with that, but then Twitch will harp on some of that stuff. And don't even get me started.
What about games that have that content? I mean, aren't there's
Yes, but it's just that's the problem, is there's no straight answer, right? Because Twitch doesn't
it's all arbitrary.
Right.
I mean, most copyright strikes are arbitrary.
Correct.
Most of them are, and usually it's the label just going like just pinging. I mean, I've gotten Instagram copyright strikes from years ago.
Yeah.
That suddenly came up.
It's company-wide stuff too. Some of it's even automatic. Like before I commissioned the incredible Michael Kill to make the current theme for autographs, I used a sample of a song by a band called Malibu Shark Attack, who I enjoy and who are really great. I asked the creators if I could use their song, and they said yes. Yet when I would export those episodes to YouTube, YouTube would not demonetize them because it had a copyrighted music in it. But I have permission to use that music. It's just a lot of digital media hasn't figured out quite how to do that interaction. But something I want to talk about more also is how you find your work ethic has changed in the pandemic. Because, like, you were talking before about burning out and how people with maybe a lower skill level might be jumping into these things. Like, for me, I find that I'm walking a line of burnout pretty much constantly because I work from home. I do all my work at home. I don't really go anywhere. And so I'm curious, with working on We Burlesque, the digital version, and We Burlesque, the podcast, do you find yourself more approaching burnout than you would running from show to show?
Burnout, no. Procrastination is a beast. Yeah. And it does allow itself to manifest more regularly. I mean, when I was in New York, I was working. I was not one of the most successful burlesquers, but I was working pretty regularly 2 to 3 times a week, which is a lot. And admittedly, and more than that technically, if you count my shows, because sometimes for a little while there was at least a couple of weeks where I was doing some weeks where there had been 2 productions of mine. So I wouldn't say there wasn't time to
Right.
procrastinate. There was always something, and I am someone who stresses out being under the gun, but I'm pretty good at it. Like and unfortunately, I know that, which means that I can really manipulate my procrastinative qualities. Burnout, yeah, no, not so much. I'm not a makeup artist, and I know a lot of folks who started doing looks and such on YouTube or tutorials or just looking, just doing makeup for the sake of makeup. And since my performance always has makeup on, generally speaking, the same face, I'm not one of those people who just puts on makeup
Yeah.
for fun, and I have to have a reason for it. And I sort of feel not that it's a waste, but it's hard for me to get amped up or excited. So I had to put I have to be interested in it,
Right.
and there has to be a reason. And usually it's a show. Usually it's a show or it's an interview because one of the We Burlesque podcast elements is I'm going to try at least some advertising, if not full length shows, use some
Okay.
YouTube aspect and some video marketing on Instagram and things like that. And that requires my face on. So when I just recently did this roundtable with a bunch of nerdluskers to talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier and the series Them, I said just everyone know to be camera ready. There's no rules for that. Whatever that, just know that I don't want you to be like, oh, this was also face. So folks came in either very glam or very casual glam, or new going out.
Right.
This is what I look like, but me, I kind of have to do the whole thing. I don't always have to shave. I can work around that
Sure. If
aspect.
Cesar Romero can do that, you can do that.
Well, yeah. He'll always be the template. So in terms of the work ethic, I think the amplification aspect has helped. Treating the podcast specifically as a way to get other voices out there. I almost hate only releasing one episode a week because I'm 4 episodes in of this season at the time of our conversation. And I'm like, oh, but there's so many more that I want to put out there because like weeks are going by. And I look at it, I'm like, really, this person's not out until June? But that's how I have to do it because I don't want too many folks. I don't want too many dudes in a row. I don't want too many white people in a row. I want a mix of different areas. So how I settled for the premiere is I had a California release and I had a New York release same day. So episodes 1 and 2 came out the same day.
It's a logic.
That was my way of and but that I also know that if I were to release twice a week, or release 2 episodes on the same week,
Yeah.
I would run through them and then I would feel under the gun again. And I think the stories that I'm hoping to amplify are better than rushing through them. I've been shocked. Like I've spent 2 hours on the phone with Twinkie Boots, someone that I've maybe spent 2 hours total ever with. But we just got talking and it was really great. And his perspective on coming through the Broadway Bears, ranks as a dancer to a semi-featured dancer to when he started producing and all of this. It was really fascinating getting to know someone. And since I've already recorded with the bulk of the people that I regularly talk to, it necessitated speaking with more people that I don't really know. And it gave me an opportunity to get to know some folk that even though now I'm in proximity, I don't get to see because of the pandemic. I haven't worked in Los Angeles in a year. So I think my last show was in March of last year. So, and those Facebook memories are a lot of fun. Just to see them pass by. So I think the amplification aspect and the sort of, it's still me, but sharing the front seat I won't say putting a,
Right.
I'm never going to be in the backseat, but sharing the front seat with folk has basically made me a little bit better with work ethic in terms of getting shit done. I think because I hate to disappoint people, and I'm also interested, and that also gets my motivation. I'm like, oh, okay, I get to do this. And if I
Yeah.
didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't have started. So
Yeah. I mean, and you for sure as hell, if you didn't love it, wouldn't keep doing it, right? That's how that stuff tends to fall off.
generally speaking, I mean, there was a little bit of time when I did Rocky Horror about
Everyone
7
who's
years.
listening, take a drink.
Take a drink. When I did Rocky Horror for 7 years, about year 5, I had to miss a show. Like year 5, I had to miss a show, and I don't think I had yet. And that was like, oh shit, how am I? Oh no! And and there was like, it's every week. Who cares? I'm like, I don't know. Why was that such a big deal for me?
Yeah.
And I guess what it is that as someone who has had so much influx all of my life, like I've lived in different houses, I've had different family member situations, different relationship situations that I didn't always feel were my idea. Moving, I'm fairly flexible, but when you throw a goalpost at me, or you throw a mile marker, and I don't see that all the time, it confuses me. Like
Yeah.
it just disconnects for a little bit, because I'm so used to so many things in flux that I've been spinning around in a circle, but I finally got my eye on something so I wouldn't get dizzy. And then suddenly in that spin, it wasn't there. I can still stand up, but it threw me, and it's hard for me to find that again.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
I mean, I totally understand that, and I feel like, look, I mean, talking about wanting to release an episode every week, Fun and Games has been 6 or 7 episodes banked since the beginning of the pandemic, and we've been sitting on our 100th episode, which is going to be special for us because we're doing something we've been talking about for a while, which might be out by the time this airs, but just in case. But like, we've been sitting on it for a long time. Like, we just released, as of this recording, an episode with Beefy, who's a nerdcore rapper who I adore. But we recorded that episode back, like, I think at the beginning of the year, and it just came out, and I almost forgot about it. And that's been fun for me, because then I can listen to my own podcast and like, oh, I remember this. Oh, I don't remember saying that, which is always fun. But like, I'm hoping that I can actually bank all of my other shows over the next month, so I can maybe take the summer off, which I've never done ever in the history of doing podcasts. But also, you know, I've gotten so used to filling up every evening during the week because I'm not going anywhere. Like, Sarah and I agree that Fridays we celebrate Shabbat. We have a date night and we just chill. And so I don't do anything on Fridays after work hours, like after sundown. That's just been the thing. That's been the rule. That was harder to do, though we tried to, when I was working shows every weekend. Now that there are no shows, that's a thing that would stay in place even if I started doing some kind of live something again. But it's hard. I still say, like, and I said this to Rana 2 weeks ago, I don't know what after the pandemic looks like. I'm getting a better idea now, but it's still a giant question mark for me, especially professionally, because I shifted everything right before this, and then everything fell apart. And I've made some great contacts in the video game industry. I've gotten to do some incredible things, like starting side quests, which you were a guest on, talking about your love of The Sims. Like, all of those things probably wouldn't have been possible without the pandemic, although I was inspired to do side quests right before it started. But I think side quests was executed because I was home all the time, and I had all this energy, and I wanted another creative outlet. But I do want to take the conversation back to talking about podcasting, and specifically talking about We Burlesque the podcast, because you're in your 5th season now. You have been doing this show for a while, and I remember when you first came on my show, I don't even think We Burlesque the podcast was out yet. I think you were gearing up, maybe. Like, you had just had the inkling of it on that very first episode. But either way, you've accomplished so much since then, having incredible guests, putting out incredible content. And like, I know when we've talked over the years, there are times when you're like, You didn't know how you felt about it. Like, you were proud of the work you were doing, but it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious where you are now, 5 seasons in. Like, it's clear that you are passionate about it and that you enjoy doing it, but I'm curious over this evolution, like, what's changed about your focus on it? What do you love about it still? What is something that you want to still working to change or improve? Like, where are you now 5 seasons in with We the Burlesque the podcast?
Well, I think I guess my mission statement is more fleshed out or more determined. Again, it always was talking to people about burlesque, which is something that we did anyway. However, a lot of that was either taken for granted or super shorthand. I didn't know, for example, a lot of people's origin story specifically. I knew they had been working for so many years. I knew what shows they regularly did, but I didn't necessarily know the impetus, or if they were performing arts kids, or if they started off in Rocky or Ren Fair or the sex industry or what have you. A lot of these places or cosplay that eventually lead you a lot of times to burlesque, and vice versa. I think my ease has gotten better. It's one of the reasons that when I record, I now have switched to Zoom. I used to only do phone recordings. I think Zoom has not only made me feel more comfortable, it has made the listener or my interview subject more comfortable, even if they don't have their camera on. I always have mine on so they can see me and they know that I'm paying attention. Although I do constantly write notes down. So I do try to, what I do a lot of times is when I rest my hand is I try to have the pen in my hand so they at least know that's what I'm doing.
So you're not just ignoring them.
Yeah. I'm not ignoring them. And well, the reason for that is because that will invariably help my keywords when I eventually have to write the show descriptions, or it's something that I want to go back to. And I didn't necessarily used to do that. Particularly when I was doing them in person, because I was going to people's houses for a while. And for a little while, maybe for about 8 episodes, I had a studio that people came to. I rented a studio in Manhattan, and I had people come there. And, which you were at. You were at one of them.
I was.
Yeah,
Raina and I did a Magical Girl Burlesque episode from one of the studios.
And so that... Again, it needed to have that sort of, it was better. It was just better in person, and this is as close to we can get as in person. And I have a feeling that it will maintain that way even if I can travel to folk, because no one directly lives near me. There's no, I don't have colleagues in walking distance or in 15 to 20 minute driving distance. So right now, there's always a possibility that could change, that either I'll meet more people locally or that my husband and I will relocate nearby but elsewhere. So that is on the table. So because as of this recording, my husband has gotten tenure at the college that he works at.
Hell yeah, you love to see it.
We do, because that was the whole reason we came here.
Job security in this economy.
We hesitate, but we do love to see it. And that's the thing, is that I really enjoyed meeting folk and working with folk in Los Angeles, but all of my interviews with them have all been via Zoom. Sure. Even when we could have met. So I think that that's gotten easier. The not being quite so precious with the recording has also helped, because I used to remove every and ah. Like I pretty severely used to, which meant that I had to then listen to the whole fucking thing, and that would drive me crazy, because I would hear myself and then judge myself and then say, why didn't I ask that? Why didn't I go forward with that? Or why did I ask that?
Yeah.
Ugh. There have been a few cuts that I've made that I'm like, that's never making the anniversary show. No. And since then, like, and not that, who knows? It's all in my head, but not that I imagine that the person that I was interviewing was like, and this asshole said this to
Right.
me. But what it was is it was indelicate, or it was stupid, or it was unnecessary. And I wasn't always, and this usually happened with people that I didn't know very well. This usually happened with people that I was either a little intimidated by because of who they are and who I look up to. And I didn't want to be invasive, so I would sort of talk around asking the question. And I'm like, just fucking ask them what. I mean, they brought it up. The only reason you know that they had this addiction, separation, relationship issue is because they said it 5 seconds ago. And if they don't want to talk about it, then they'll say, I don't really want to talk about that. Then you can cut that. Or don't. I mean, sometimes actually it's really good to leave in in that they don't want to talk about it. So, I think I've learned a little bit more, to be a little bit more comfortable. And I mean, not happening right now during our conversation, but I've learned to shut up just a little bit.
just a little bit. Yeah, it's. I try and get out of my own way.
I love you.
I mean, but also, like, I'm having you on my show because I know you don't shut up. Like, that's the whole point. I mean, also, I love episodes like this because, like, yes, we're recording an episode of my podcast, but also this is us catching up, which we try to do as often as possible, but it's fun to do in this form as well.
It's sometimes that, like, a week, 3 weeks, 4 weeks will go by. I'm like, fuck. How did this happen?
Where did all that time go? We were talking every week for a while.
Where did all that time go? I know.
It's wild.
It's easy to get distracted. And I used to feel really uncomfortable about it, about having friendships that I would lose touch with, because I would feel that it was somehow... I love my father, but he is not the kind of person who calls every day. He's not the kind of person who calls a lot. And so I feel at times that I have inherited a piece of that where I don't get lonely from people. I don't miss them. And it's not that I don't miss them. It's that I let them have their space, and then a lot of times I'll let it be on their terms when we reconnect. It's not an intentional slight, and I'm better at it than he is, in terms of me being able, I think, to recognize it. But I think also with the pandemic specifically, and with the move, and me being 3 hours difference, sometimes everything that I go through in my life, because I have a job, I have things I have to do with, I have an apartment to take care of, I have a cat and a husband to be present with. Sometimes the moment I'm like, oh, I want to talk to that person, it's 11 o'clock there. And some people I can do that with. And some people
there'll definitely be times where, like, I'll wake up the next morning and see that you messaged me a meme at 2 a.m. and I'm like, oh, he was thinking of me. I was asleep, but he was thinking of me.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the great things about that's the thing, is a lot of times I will message people, and there are only a couple of folk. Lillian Bustle is one of them. Bo Britches is one of them. Lucky Charming is one of them. A few folk where I can message just a meme or a statement or a comment, and I know they'll just get back to me when they get back to me. But I don't hesitate to do that. But there are some folk, like my parents especially, and my family members or things like that. I'm like, it's late here. It's not late here. It's late there, and that has been a big adjustment. Is the time change? Yeah. That has been more than
I feel
ever,
like
more than
also
ever.
we're all relearning how to interact in a pandemic and post-pandemic. Like, I know that at the end of May, after I'm fully vaccinated, my spouse and I are going to go away for our 6-year wedding anniversary. We're going to see some friends. And, like, I don't know how I'm going to react when I see them. I'm confident I will probably cry. But, like, beyond that, like, it's so weird to think about being around other people, because I don't remember what that's like. And it's not been that long. It's been a year. But it's just, like, I like to joke, who knows how to interact with
But
people?
you went from 1 million to 0.
Right.
Like, that's the big thing. Yeah.
And, like, especially for folks like you and me who were working every weekend and seeing 50 to 100 people every weekend in some form or another. And that went to zero. And like on the positive side, I've played more video games in the last year than I've played in the last 10 years because I actually can take the time to do it and can wrap my brain around taking the time to do it. That's something I wanted to ask you about, knowing that you watch old movies and knowing that you watch old TV shows and stuff. Like, I became obsessed with the Yakuza video game series because I was able to take the time to play it, and I had more time during the pandemic, and I've been obsessed with it. I'm already up to the 4th game. It's my, like, I don't want to stream. I don't want to talk to anyone. Maybe I'll share a screenshot.
It's my time. It's your time.
Yeah, I want to sit and just relax and enjoy this wacky but dramatic game. I'm curious, during the pandemic, have you found any TV shows or movies that have really resonated with you? Like, this is me time. Everybody, take a hike. This is me time entertainment.
Well, it's to a degree. Television usually is a household activity here. There's not a lot of things that I watch by myself unless I'm at my computer. Right. So it's usually me and the husband and the cat, therefore. So I will say during the pandemic, I think that, this happened during the pandemic. The final season of Schitt's Creek happened. That was a series that we started right before the pandemic, and we barreled through it. And then we waited for the final season, and we got through it. There's always been some sort of comfort shows that Rob and I always go through, Rob being the husband. We're always going to go back to Murder, She Wrote. We're always going to go back to Frasier. We're always going to go back to The Simpsons, Bob's Burgers. What else? Well, The Golden Girls is a natural, but that's literally every night we put it on when we know we're going to bed. And I mean, there's some tangential ones. He'll put Parks and Rec on every now and then, which I like, but it's very rarely my idea to put that on. So we have these things that I will say he's probably gotten a little bit more experimental in the shows that he'll give a try to, or the movies that he'll give a try to. For a while, we were off horror for his decision because of what was happening in the world. He needed something that was not scary because he was already dealing with stuff that was scary, and I get that.
Totally.
That's not how I work. Well, this is the reason that we complement each other. We have a lot in common that we can that we parallel. So I'm okay with horror, and actually I kind of prefer horror when I'm stressed because it puts the onus on someone else, and it's usually, unless we're talking like home invasion or people are the problem, usually the occult or less slasher. I'm less slashery unless it's funny. I'm cool with that because it's just not real enough where it's fine with me. So home invasion I will also dip my toe into, but not as often. I find that I will dip my toe into it a lot more that we're living in an apartment than I did when I was living in a house. Not that I was like in the woods, but I used to live in New Jersey. I lived on the 2nd floor, and then I lived on the 3rd floor. So technically, anybody who came into the 1st floor, I wouldn't know for a little while. That was always the case. And I'm not saying that bad things don't happen in apartments, but I will say there's a certain level of safety in feeling that you're not quite, right off the driveway. I don't know how that'll be once we get a house, but certainly. So I mean, there have been some things. I mean, we did get, that was also the big choice of what premium channel, not premium channels, we don't call them that anymore, streaming services. We would get. We are a Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Stars. I'm forgetting one.
Amazon Prime.
Prime, thank you. And through the miracles of friendship, HBO Max. Nice. So through the miracles of friendship, a friend has Hulu, and we have HBO Max. And Peacock. That was the latest because of Murder, She Wrote.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And every now and then, I gave up. What did I give up? I gave up Shudder, which I could always go back to because they're really big on the 30-day free plans. But there was just too much time had gone by where nothing was on that I wanted to see. So I canned that in favor of Peacock. Yeah. And again, we every once in a while we'll go back and forth and say maybe we don't need this, maybe we don't want this, and I'm like, yeah, but oh, and technically Broadway HD, technically, yeah, because I added that to the Amazon Prime. Listen,
look, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, and there are times where I'm like, what am I committing to? But I want it accessible. I don't have any of my DVDs here, and we only just recently got a DVD. There's this show called The Snoop Sisters, which was on in the 80s as part of the ABC Sunday Night Movie, which is where Columbo comes from.
Right.
I want to say a few. There's a few shows that came out of that. And The Snoop Sisters, it's these old broads. You know I love a broad.
Yeah.
They're deep in their 70s. One's a mystery writer. One's a failed poetry writer. And they constantly find themselves in places that require them to solve the mystery.
Amazing.
I think my favorite episode is when they have to prove that Vincent Price didn't murder his wife, and he's a famous horror icon. It's campy and it's fun and it's light and it's entertaining. It's very stylish, and filled with people who were famous in the 80s and earlier. Amazing, like, and just like bit unnecessary parts that I'm like, I love a working actor. Oh, I love it. Character actors are some of the best in the world. And we had to get a DVD player for that because it wasn't available streaming anywhere. So we got a taste on a YouTube rip, and then I found the series, and I'm like, we're gonna have to do that. So, and then very blessedly, your one of your co-hosts, Dick Move, and his beloved, my dear friend Sarah Tops, facilitated a want to play the Simpsons video games again by helping me get access to a PlayStation 2. I have not played as often as I want to because technically it's not quite as comfortable. I have to kind of sit on the bed without a back to play, but
back when they had controllers with wires and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of dropped off right after things turned 3D. So,
that's fair.
If it doesn't scroll in one direction, I'm kind of lost.
Yeah.
A couple of things that we've been able to, a couple true crime stuff. The one big thing that I was very active on for a while was listening to podcasts, and I'm just still so behind. Too. I cook a lot, so I listen to a lot of my favorite murder, but a lot of stuff still says, "Are you still interested?" on my phone, and I'm like, "Yes." At one point.
Yeah, that's the same for me. Since I lost my commute and since I lost going out or going places, like I listen to podcasts when I do the laundry. I listen to podcasts when I do the dishes, if I'm cleaning. But like, whereas I used to listen to every show on my list, and I am following too many podcasts, now I'm listening to like an eighth of them. And then like maybe listening to parts of others and skimming others, like because I want to hear them, but also I have so much time in the day. And like in my downtime, I don't want to do it as much. I've found a few games that I don't mind playing while listening to podcasts, but for the most part, the games I've been really into that have been like relaxing for me are heavy narratives. And it's like I can't listen to a podcast while I'm playing a game with a heavy story because I can't pay attention to both. I find my music listening has dipped also during the pandemic. Like I have to go out of my way to listen to music or with intent to listen to music. And so I fall behind on stuff. That's one of the great things about Fuser for me has been like, I'm discovering new songs that I didn't know through that game and then listening to them outside of it. But also some of my favorite songs have come to it. And like, even though it's only like 30 seconds to a minute's worth of that song, more or less, it still gets me listening to music more again, which I have just fallen off. And I think I'm hoping that'll change, and as I pay more attention to it, it changes. But it's just I haven't been able to keep up with the way I used to.
Yeah, I have a couple of Spotify to get to lists. That's a lot of times how I organize them. And I used to just have one, but they only let so many tracks show up on a playlist. So now I have a couple. But since I sit at my desk a lot, sometimes, I mean, this has also been the last year has been like, let's have as much comfort as possible. Let's have as much familiarity as possible. So of course, listening to the usuals, which for me, Alanis, Madonna, Tori Amos, Fiona. I enjoy my Celine Dion and Mariah Carey and my Janet Jackson.
All on brand so far.
I'm nothing if not consistent.
That's true.
And in terms of new music, I'm so scattershot with it. Like I'll go weeks, and then I just found there's this band called the Screaming Females, or just Screaming Females. I don't think they're I think it's just Screaming Females, and I really enjoyed one of the albums specifically that they released, which the name will now immediately leave my head, but check them out. They're on the Spotify's. And let's see, what else have I been finding? I don't know. Oh, there's this song called Next Girl by this country artist named Carly Pierce that I've had in my head for the last 2 weeks. That's some good stuff there too. So yeah, and then every now and then, like Alanis had an album last year, which was good timing. Fiona had an album last year, which was good timing. I didn't like Madonna's last album, so that wasn't really great timing, but she has a great back catalog. Hey, I'm a fan, but I'm discerning.
No, you should be. You should have opinions.
Hold them to a standard. Due to your insistence, I finally checked out Halsey.
Thank God.
Halsey?
It's Halsey.
Well, it was interesting because what she did was she repackaged Manic, the last album, into a bunch of EPs, which made it a little less, I don't want to say intimidating, but I guess a little less of a commitment. So I'm like, I got 20 minutes. And I want to say, what was it? For a while, 3 a.m. was my bathroom on repeat song while I was taking a shower. That would come on. It's just so weird because it has that weird little outro. So it would dip for a second and then it would come back out. I Hate Everybody. I really liked,
good one.
Which I ended up doing an act 2 for the Silver Tusk Awards. So and Strangers I thought was such a pretty song, and Graveyard. There's some good stuff, and so I was able to sort of pick that out. And what's funny is on my Spotify playlist, they're all from the EPs. I could have just pulled them from
the whole album,
but for some reason they were very well curated. So that was a good one. Early on, Billie Eilish, the Where Do We Go album, on repeat a lot too. For dance music, Kylie Minogue's Disco album is extraordinary, very, 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 very good, and I thought better than Chromatica, and I'll say it. I'll say it.
Not a fan of Chromatica. It's fun. It's like,
it was all right.
Lady Gaga doesn't make bad music. That doesn't mean all of her music is good.
Yeah.
Like that's
all right.
Yeah, it's fine.
Right. It was sort of generic.
Totally. Yeah. I find that my music listening has also been scattershot. I tend to go back to my faves. Like I've been listening to a lot of K-Flay. K-Flay is constantly in my rotation. Halsey, like you mentioned before. And then I've been listening to the Fuser playlist because it's a curation of really, like, they have an official Spotify playlist, and it's a lot of good dance music and rock and pop and
just good, motivating, upbeat.
Yeah. But also like I found a real love in quarantine for Taylor Swift, who I already liked, but also Carly Rae Jepsen and Kesha, who I've always liked all three of them, but now it's like, oh no, the world is dumb. They're phenomenal. These people who want to say Kesha isn't good just don't know how to listen to music, because it's not. It's just blatantly not true, especially her most recent record. Like, I mean, also as a bisexual boy who projected straightness growing up, like a lot of kids picked on me for liking pop music. And as a grown-ass, openly queer adult, I'm like, wow, I was dumb and they were dumber. This stuff is great.
Well, I think you can tell that there's a lot of folk, and those artists in particular, a lot of times will come up in conversations about purportedly bad music because of who they are, the way they present themselves, a lot of their unapologetic nature, and the fact that they're women. And the fact that they're women who write, in theory, either frivolous or personal stuff. So I understand where the hate comes from. It's all bullshit. But I think also what will happen is that all it takes is someone to cover one of those songs and everyone will love it, or the people who don't like them will love it. And it's like, well, see, that's the thing. You just like down-tempo guitar songs. That's okay. But then you don't have to be an asshole about BPM. Like, it doesn't have to be that big a deal. Because if you're gonna rock out to it as an acoustic, flavorless white boy cover, then okay. But I mean, how often have we seen that with rap songs where people who would say that they hate rap music, but they'll listen to the Richard Cheese cover or they'll listen to Ryan Adams covering it? I'm like, you realize that you just have a different taste. It's not that it sucks. It's that you would prefer it in a different packaging. That's okay. I don't really love heavy metal covers of pop songs. The Punk Goes Pop I was really looking forward to, but half of it was screaming at me. That's okay. That's just not my jam. But I'm not going to get mad at anybody who likes the punk version of the screamo punk version of When I Grow Up by the Pussycat Dolls. That's okay. I don't know. Maybe it's also that I'm just so tired of it's not even elitism. It's just being contrary, and it's being bitter about other people, what they like, that literally doesn't hurt anybody. Yeah. Like, oh, I hate what's playing on the radio. You don't listen to the radio. No, who's listening to the radio? Technology has made it so simple where you never, unless you work in retail, in which case I understand and I'm not mad at you. But we have made everything where when you have control of what music you're listening to, you have control of music you're listening to. The only time is really if you're in retail. Yeah. No, I mean, and if you're home.
No, I know, but no, I'm with you there. I mean, I've been yelling for years that there are no guilty pleasures. You like whatever you like, and if someone doesn't like that you like it, they can go fuck themselves, you know?
Right. I mean, take the guilty pleasure if it's something that you're like, I would never play this in front of other people because it's problematic to some degree, because that's right. That's
but you shouldn't feel guilty for liking a pop song just because other people hate it. That's dumb. You know, it's the same way in the video game industry. Like, what pushed me to make side quests was the insane negativity of games that haven't even been released yet. We would see screenshots of a game in a franchise that had issues, and they'll go, well, the last one sucked, this one's going to suck. And I'm be like, according to what? The color palette in the screenshot? What's wrong with you? And so, like, people want to naysay everything. It's why I don't tweet about Star Wars anymore. Like, I love The Mandalorian. I thought it was phenomenal. I didn't hate the new movies, but, like, when people just want to go, oh, well, this sucked and you're stupid, it's like, what's the point?
Well, a lot of that is based on, I talked a little bit about this in the roundtable of the Nerdlusk thing that's going to come out soon. I don't know when, but soon. Probably out by the time this does. So go to the Weberless Podcast Network on your platform of choice to listen. And one of the things that I wanted to make sure we mentioned about Falcon and Winter Soldier is that, and WandaVision specifically, was that these shows came out one at a time. Week to week, which is uncommon for a lot of streaming services. And because of that, it gave folks the opportunity to come up with all these fan theories and to come up with all these expectations that were never promised that were never. And because, we have the internet, all of these fan theories can then circulate and become semi-canon. And then suddenly, what? But they didn't do that. No, they never said they were going to. And the thing is you created fan fiction in your head, and that's okay. Now write it down and release it.
Yeah.
That's okay. And we sort of have gotten to a point where our entitlement to the properties that we love, and particularly our entitlement to the properties we don't love, it's sort of gotten in our own way.
Absolutely.
And again, none of it matters. It'll all be rebooted in 5 years anyway. And no one wants to hear a 35-year-old complain that their show from 1985 is being rebooted. Guess what? It's not for you. You get to enjoy it if you want to, but it's not for you. There are a lot of queers who were mad about the new version of The Witches. And I'm like, listen, does it have to be a good movie? Yes. That would be preferred. Does it have to be exactly will it ever be Angelica Houston? No, it never will. If you can't acknowledge also that was clearly written for people who were under the age of 18, I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah. I mean, not everything is for you, and
it's really not.
It doesn't erase the previous thing that came. Like,
that's true too.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest example for me, and I think I've talked about this several times, is I love the new She-Ra from start to finish. Mwah! Perfect.
Yeah, I was on my head I was trying to remember another one that fanboys got mad about. Yeah.
But it wasn't for me. That version of She-Ra was for me because it was queer as fuck, and I'm queer as fuck. But like, it wasn't for me. It was designed for
got to enjoy it. That was the thing. I was not the intended audience, and that's okay. Like, it's the same thing. One of my favorite humans, Patrick H. Willems, has said several times about Star Wars. You were getting mad about movies, about space wizards for children. Yeah.
That's what, like, this stuff isn't for you. It's the same thing with, like, when a video game comes out that was a kid's game that, like the Mario games. People have issues with every Mario game that comes out. The Mario games aren't for me. I mean, they are, but they're for modern kids. Just like the old Mario games were for me when I was a kid. And that doesn't mean they can't be for adults, but it's like you can't say, oh, they kiddyified this thing. It's some video games are for kids, some aren't, some are for adults. But like, not everything has to be for you. And I mean, even beyond that is like the white male straight protagonist. Like, every time they change the gender, the nationality, the religion, or whatever else of a lead character, the white boys on the internet get up in arms, and it's like, I will happily play as a black woman in every video game from now till the end of time, because there's enough white me's out there. I don't need to play that character again.
Well, what's also really frustrating is that those individuals are very often a cross-section of folks who didn't get the nuance of their properties anyway.
Right.
The fight against fascism, the dealing of civil rights.
Yeah.
It's paramount in these properties, and the fact is that I guess what it is that when subtext becomes text, they get really mad that they weren't consulted.
Yeah.
And I see where they're coming from. That's not really anybody else's problem.
Yeah.
Now again, does it have to be good? Yes. It still would be great if they weren't bad depictions, or if they were created or rewritten or remixed by folks who knew what they were talking about. Because there have been clumsy remakes. But the sort of nostalgia fueled fury for even other people liking it, it's just sort of, it's exhausting. And I don't know anybody who actually, I mean, I know we speak in hyperbole on the internet, but I don't know if it really is all consuming. It certainly is to some degree, because then you get folks who Rotten Tomatoes ratio things.
Oh yeah.
And like, they make it a crusade early on. They bully Asian actresses off the internet for daring to take on a role that they did a good job with. And that's the thing. I guess also it always is. It always is about queerness. It always is about race. It always is about gender, and it's always about being more accessible to anyone other than you. That's the bare issue.
Yeah.
If it hits any of those notes, there are gonna be people who are gonna be mad.
And
But then again, there'll also be the same people who complain that cancel culture.
yeah.
So.
I mean, if I've learned anything this past year, in the year of this pandemic, that's going on almost more than a year at this point, or is in fact more than a year, is that you need to log off. Everyone needs to log off. We're online too much, and I am speaking as someone who tweets too much currently. But when you have a podcast you produce, Twitch stream, and too much other shit, you're going to post a lot. But
you're also not posting like stuff that bitches about other people.
Well, no.
If you are bitching, if you're bitching about it, you're bitching about other people's inaccessibility or messing up. Like you're not coming after people for enjoying things.
Right, yeah. I don't have like a ground rules document on how you have to enjoy this thing, because
I mean, unless you have an alt I don't know about, which I guess is
anything's possible, I guess. Before we wrap up, I do want to ask an important question that I've started to want to ask, and you're going to be my first. The pandemic, there's been a lot of terrible shit that's happened over the last year, on the civil rights side, on the pandemic side, the government side, although things maybe are getting better, who knows? It's hard to tell. Jury's still out on that one.
Well, jury came in today.
That is true, and thank God.
The day we were recording this, George Floyd's murderer was all three counts guilty. We don't know the sentencing yet at the time of this recording, but at the very least, that was, the bare minimum it could have been.
Thank fucking God. But I want to ask, what's a standout positive moment during the pandemic for you? Is there one or two things you can think of that, like, this couldn't have happened at another time, or I'm grateful that this happened? Because I find that a lot of the times, even though we're all doing the best we can, and some of us are doing some incredible things, it's hard to look at the good over the endless mire of terrible. And so I'm curious if you have some standout moments that you'd want to share that were like really great over the last year.
Well, the Silver Tusk Awards was a big one.
Yeah.
The award show celebrating a year of fuckery, or celebrating the perseverance in a year of fuckery, I guess I should say. Seeing Foxy Belle Efrique get recognized for as many awards and nominations as she did to earn Performer of the Year, Entertainer of the Year, I thought was an excellent moment. The joy and how excited everyone got when that happened. I think it is right now my Instagram most popular post for the year. That was a really great, gratifying moment to help facilitate. Again, I guess that's I'm all about facilitation right now. Spending time with my husband has been lovely. We have learned more about each other. We have talked more than we ever have because we have to and because we want to. Therefore, we have some systems and some, I don't want to say traditions, but events that we always make time for, that if a day goes by, we don't panic that we didn't have time for, because we know that it'll be back the next day. So if he has a class that runs late, or if I have an episode I need to do, or work we have to do, it's okay. We'll catch up. So that's been quite gratifying. I am extraordinarily glad that this is where I was when I got quarantined. I am also vaccinated. I got my second shot a couple weeks ago. I was very prepared to get very sick or very messed up for the next day, and neither of us did. We were a little achy, almost like we had walked a lot or moved boxes, but other than that, nothing. And I was very pleased about that. My parents have all been vaccinated at this point. I believe all of my siblings have at this point. If not, their second one is coming soon. So that's been glad to see. glad to see that. In terms of like a great moment, I guess there's just lots of little things. Like I like I like releasing the podcast and seeing people
Yeah.
like it. Like seeing the response to it. I still don't have a great engagement for as many followers and as many users follow me, and as I don't get a lot of likes and a lot of responses. I don't think I show up a lot, and part of that is because of my keywords, the burlesque
Right.
element, I'm sure, and also I'm an old account at this point in relative terms. The account has existed for a number of years, so any penalty that I got early on, I doubt I've aged out of. I don't think they're doing that. But yeah, a little everything like that. I like that. It makes me happy. I would like to be more out there, but one of the realizations that I have is that I've cultivated a very insular industry, community, performer base. And since times are hard, times are tough, I can't expect a lot from them financially or monetarily. So I try to make things as accessible and as available to folks at a low or free level. The podcast free to anyone who, I was posting on my YouTube for a little while. I'll be doing that again once I get my act together. Yeah. And when I was writing more for Two Nights Stay, I have to say the getting audio from Dick Jones and Nina Lavoie, who both really nailed the stories that they told. Hearing them made listening to my own words a lot easier, because I write some run-on sentences, but yeah. So think little things like that, like little bits. Those have been good things.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that stuff. And thank you for sharing this time with me. It's always so great to see your face and have you on this show. Before I have you do our sign off, which I know you know all too well, why don't you tell folks where they can find you on the internet and find all the stuff that you do on the internet, plug whatever you want to plug. This will be out in about 2 weeks, so keep that in mind for time-sensitive stuff. But otherwise, yeah, plug away. Tell folks where to find the incredible Viktor Devonne.
Well, almost on everything, I am VIKTORDEVONNE. I am that on Twitter and Instagram, on Facebook. I also am WEBURLESQUE, We Burlesque, on everything, including Twitch, where I sometimes come in and say hi to Stormageddon and Dick Move.
That's true.
While you play games. And WeBurlesque.com, always a good idea. Right now, digital shows are every fourth Wednesday and Saturday. So what I do is I cultivate a bunch of shows. I broadcast them on Zoom live with an audience where we can chat and talk, play some games, play some music, and do the same thing all over again on that Saturday. So if a Saturday doesn't work for you, we got a Wednesday. If a Wednesday doesn't work for you, we got a Saturday. Same performances, but it always feels a little different. We've done a couple of them so far, and it seems to be doing well. I have a feeling I'll be doing that for the next several months. As it also is another way for me to get shows of performers that I don't live near or don't have access to. It's been really great to do that. I feel a little behind, which is why I'm still doing it. A lot of folks got their shit together a year ago. I did not. I got my ring light last week. Like, I'm just not.
It's okay.
I'm just a little behind.
It happens.
All my life, I was just a little behind. Yeah, so that's mainly it. If folks really want to throw some bucks at me, that's always really cool. It's at patreon.com/WeBurlesque. What it does is it allows me to pay other performers. I don't work on a profit with White Elephant. I never have. It's one of the reasons it's called White Elephant. Not that I necessarily knew that at the time, but self-fulfilling prophecy. So what it does is that allows me to throw bucks at people that I include in roundtables, that I include in shows for any other purposes, and that I can also pay to other shows to support them too. It's just how it is. Also, We Burlesque, the podcast, and the We Burlesque Podcast Network is available pretty much everywhere. I think the only holdout right now is I stopped paying for the premium account on SoundCloud. We'll see if I do that again. And for a while, Google Podcasts was very frustrating because I changed my RSS feed. And
they don't like that.
They did not like that. They did not like that at all. So they gave me problems for that. So I might not be in there. We'll see. I think I am. Wait, hang on. Am I? Yeah, no, I'm still screwed. Yeah. But, yeah, I told him. So go listen to people's stories. The one I just released, I know this is 2 weeks out, the Lily Von Stupp, if you don't know her, East Coasters, because I know a lot of you may not, she is a really great interview. Do listen to it. She's got bucket loads of experience in the industry. I think a lot of newcomer performers need to listen to what she's talking about, and a lot of folks who are feeling the burnout, because we're talking to a disabled, chronically ill, fascinating, brilliant facilitator of burlesque shows who has a really great perspective on a lot of things. So do check that out, and we release those every Monday. And other things come out during the week.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. Yes, listeners, go check all of that out. I'll have links to everything in the show notes, probably hyperlinked all over the place. But now we are going to wrap up the show. Victor, will you please sign us off?
Well, I know all of you know this, but music is life, and life is good.
That's it for this episode of CPOV Autographs. Our theme music is by Michael Kill. Our logo was designed by Case Aiken and Joey Amons. If you liked the show, please rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. It's a great way to help us reach more listeners. Questions, comments, or guest recommendations? Email mr.nat.storm@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter at CPOV Autographs. Thank you so much for listening.
That was it, right? I was like, oh fuck, is there another word in there? I don't think there is.
Hi, this is Victor Devonne, and I am the host of We Burlesque, the podcast. Every Monday, I talk to fabulous denizens of nightlife, including burlesque performers, both seasoned and new to the form, drag performers, performance artists, DJs, and artists who make up their respective scenes. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. Please visit WeBurlesque.com to check out episode recaps and see all the formats available. And remember that music is life. Life is good.
Hey there, Screen Beans. Have you heard about Screen Snark?
Rachel, this is an ad break. They aren't screen beans until they listen to the show.
Fine. Potential Screen Beans. You like movies and TV shows, right?
I mean, who doesn't? Screen Snark is a casual conversation about the movies and television shows that are shaping us as we live our everyday lives.
That's right, Matt. We have a chat with at least one incredible guest every episode, hailing from all walks. We've interviewed chefs,
writers, costumers, musicians,
yoga teachers, comedians, burlesque dancers,
folks in the film and TV industry,
and more.
We'd be delighted for you to join us every other Monday on the Certain POV Podcast Network.
Or wherever you get your podcasts, fresh and tasty off the presses.
What? That's not...
Can I call them Screen Beans now?
Fine.
Screen Beans.
So tune in and we'll see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere.
'Cause you're all Screen Beans now.
She will be mine.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.